What's up, y'all? I planned on doing a podcast tonight, but I'm still working on some of that material. As you can see, I'm using the JLab Bluetooth headset, and I want to do a little story time on some of the process that I was taking to do the book. My first book. The first book that I had was basically kind of breaking down um, how I got into the industry, how I got into the tech industry, and I wanted to write it in a way that um, you could kind of get in without a college degree, and exactly how I did it, exactly step by step. And excuse me, the reason why I did it that way was I wanted it to be like a guide, not necessarily just an educational book. A lot of times you get books that have a bunch of selling points and stuff like that. I'm not really doing so much of a selling point. This is exactly what I did. Like my pitfalls, the problems that I had, and a lot of that came from me being a technical trainer. I was kind of learning things as I went along. Nobody trained me how to do that. I just knew how to communicate with the appropriate parties to do so. And so I was writing notes about all these different things that I was doing. And my wife gave me an idea one day. She said, "Well, you should write a book." And just like the technical training, when somebody said, "Well, you should teach and you should do this and you should do that, you should create a podcast," I'd be kind of sitting up like, I don't know. I don't know if that's my style. I don't know if that's something I want to do. But I really didn't have a real good justification as to not doing it. I didn't have a good reason as to not doing it, other than I wasn't really truly interested. But I ended up doing a lot of these things anyway. I ended up crafting people's resumes anyway. I ended up getting people's jobs anyway. And I was looking back at some old emails and seeing on how many jobs I actually got people, whether it was working on a resume or getting them to the appropriate parties. So I began writing bits and pieces of pretty much all my experiences. And as I started to write, I started to think about all these stories. And some of them were kind of horror stories. Some of them were not necessarily the most positive situations, but they were important because adversity and information, that's going to kind of shape your brain about how you deal with things and problem solving. You make money by solving problems. If you have a problem that somebody's trying to solve and you know how to do that efficiently, you can make money. And that's what I learned how to do. I learned how to solve problems, and that made me money, you know. So and I always give this story a lot of times when I'm in interviews. It's pretty much the same story. They want to hear what they want to hear, and you tell them that. But you don't have to lie about it. You know what I mean? You don't have to necessarily lie about it. You don't have to do that. You just tell your story. So going back, I guess I ain't gotta really get into that because y'all could get the book and y'all could read that. Um, but from the technical training part, I started doing that in, I believe, 2016, and I was able to speak to that because when I was doing Citrix administration for a managed service company, um, I was given the opportunity to speak at a university, and I started doing that on the weekend. And I was just kind of showing kids on how to use a lot of these tools. And I had some friends of mine that I met along the way that I had speak to kids that were already in the industry. And the kids got to see people that look like us. And I was given an opportunity to write an adult course curriculum. And so I ran that class for over 6 years, and then I passed the torch after putting in the work. Um, but from 2016 on, I'm trying to think. I think I started writing the book around maybe 2018. I had all these notes of everything that was going on. And then I sat down one night, and I compiled them, and I literally stayed up till 6 in the morning, and the book was done. I stayed up until the book was done, and then I went on, you know, a I went on a site called Upwork, and I found this brother in Dallas, Texas, and I set up a budget for him to edit the book. Um, he wrote it. I wanted it word for word. And there was a couple different sentences and some things that was written, and it didn't sound like me. So I had to go back in there and remove some of these things. You see what I'm saying? Because it had to sound exactly like it was me. I wrote it as if it was me, but there's a lot of things that were unnecessary that could cut out, you know. And I wanted to give step-by-step descriptions on a lot of the things you're going to encounter, a lot of the things they're not going to tell you when you go to college. And after I did that, you know, I went into it was a real slow process because I signed up for a Minneapolis Authors Expo. And after I did that, I sold a decent amount of books, I suppose. I mean, more than anything, I think it was really good. Now, I was pricing my books too low at the time, and I didn't know. But I was pricing my books for like $12, $13, I don't know. And some sisters kind of pulled me to the side like, no. You need to get a dub piece for them. Because you didn't put in the work, you didn't did all this stuff, you know. And so they advised me to raise my price, because if you go to any college and stuff like that, I mean, this kind of information, you know, they hitting people over there for $35, $40. And I didn't think about that. I was just thinking about pricing it so black folks would get it. They said, look, people in general, but like they told me, they said black folks spend money on what they want and what they value. So you trying to lowball it, trying to look out for Negroes, and folks ain't really gonna value your price. They just not. And so the sisters, there was a few sisters, they pulled me to the side like, look, man, you done spent all this time giving black folks this information, presenting this to our culture. You need to be paid for that. It's not that you trying to get over on nobody, but you need to get paid for that. You done instructed people. You done got hundreds of people certified in Microsoft, things of that nature. I mean, you know, they're looking at the back cover like, nah, you need to get a dub. You know, you took college courses, you put in the work, you put over 5 years into the game. You need to get your bag. You know what I'm saying? And so I listened to them. You know, and I got a website together. I'm trying to think that I have a website right off the bat. I think I did. I think I did have a website right off the bat that I designed myself. And it looked pretty decent. The first year I didn't really sell hardly any books. It was somewhat discouraging, but when the pandemic happened and all of that, we couldn't really move around like how we wanted to. So a lot of black folks, we relied on the internet. The pandemic happened. You know, the city, Minneapolis, was in siege when Mr. Floyd got lynched on 38th in Chicago. It was an interesting year for 2020. At that time, I was working 7 days a week. I was working remote. I bought a house. So, I'm trying to think, was it 2020 or 2021? And we had started a business, a chemical supply business, a wipes business. I'm trying to think what else. Like, Was it 2020 or 2021? I believe, I can't remember what year it was, but 2019, I barely sold anything. I barely sold anything when I released a book. I released a book in March 2019. And I believe it was 2021 when I started advertising on the black media through the Black Authority. The brothers showed me love. My first book, I think my first month or two advertising on the new black media, I think I sold over 200 books or so. I think it was around about that. I'm not sure, but I mean it was skyrocketing. You know, I might have sold a couple local here. I went to the black market in Minneapolis. They showed a lot of love there. I think I went there once. Um, Me personally, I think Minneapolis wasn't really ready for that. I mean, there's a tech industry for us here. There's some brothers doing their thing, absolutely. But I think it was a little ahead of the time when I was doing the tech training stuff, you know. But one thing I remember was somebody told me, a woman by the name Melody Waters, that kind of gave me one of my first interviews when I was doing some music stuff. He said, don't really worry about the folks that don't support you, because they ain't going to do it anyway. You focus on those that do. And I got more support. I got more support outside of my city than inside. And I was always told no prophet is respected in his own land. I don't know what parable that comes from. But in some instances, it's true. Sometimes you got to go out because people that don't know you, they genuinely want to see you come up. So they're coming from the standpoint like when you and I go on Amazon, we don't really think about who's selling the product a lot of times. If it's something we like, we just buy it. We really don't know the person to really question ulterior motives all like that and say, you know, and get the pocket watching and all that. You know, you don't know the person to do that. But when somebody's right down the street, you could do that. You can look at this person and be like, man, I don't know if I want to see him, you know, get my bread. You really have some very serpent-minded people that think like that. So I started saying one volume initially was enough, but I started kind of writing. There was a lot of stuff I cut out in bits and pieces, and as I was learning on about different technologies, I said, you know what? I want to make a black history. I want to make a black history tech book almost. As I was reading more Dr. Claude Anderson stuff and all different types of stuff and Neely Fuller and all that, I said, I want to make a book that just encompasses its tech. But the thing is, we're black in tech. We're dealing with a lot of these social media sites. We're dealing with a media and a propagandist. I call them a propaganda tool piece and a propaganda machine. We've been dealing with this for over 120 years plus in the United States of America. And I said, I want to research and see exactly where did a lot of this come off, because technology and all that, it goes hand in hand. IT, especially with the social media and AI and all that, it goes hand in hand, especially when it comes to our folks. From the spending habits to economics to medical to the prison system, it all goes hand in hand right together. And so I said, I want to do a deep dive, and then I want to craft some solutions in a codified manner. And so I did it. So now you got 400 pages of the concept and intricacies of being black in information technology. So the first book is just an introduction, and then the second one, you're going straight into the dark side. I mean, I just pulled no punches at all. I just went straight Cresswellsian on it. This was probably the most unapologetic piece of work that I've had. So you ask, well, why did I write the book? Somebody emailed me asking me that. Why did you write this? I wrote it because we didn't have anything like this. We might have had some how to get a job kind of books. A lot of the books that come out come from an apologist standpoint. And I'm not making apologies. I wasn't gonna do that. Then I said, I need a YouTube channel. So the first time that I posted on this channel, which I appreciate y'all liking it, and we're building this generically from the ground up, and I'd much rather it be that way. I said, well, I'm gonna start getting interviews together so y'all could kind of see how this goes. How y'all can see how this game goes, how this industry goes. There's a lot of different changes and things are getting very, very competitive. So I said, every time that I do some interviews, every time that I get some new information, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm gonna give it to y'all. And I'm gonna post it right on this channel until they decide to take this channel down if it deems to be a threat. And then if that happens, I'll create a new channel. You know. But, there's other projects I'm working on. I figure, well, I'll just do this last book here. But then I said, well, what else can I do? Somebody else gave me some ideas. Another time, somebody told me that I should consider a documentary. And I wanted to know what y'all think. Do we need an IT Hidden Colors documentary? I think we do. And I don't really got to do too much other research. I could have somebody read the second book, and I should be able to gather information from that and get some folks to speak. Maybe a couple people from the city. I think that might be a good idea. So that's the reason. That's the reason, y'all. That's the reason why I wrote this book. I wrote these books because because number one, I didn't have this. When I first came in, I didn't have this. And I've been doing this long enough to say that when I first came in, there was no book that I knew of that just kind of gave the black experience, especially the black American experience, specifically. So we definitely didn't have that. And that's why I wrote that. So hopefully that answers the question of the person that emailed me. So I'm going to be getting together the podcast. I'm a little tired, so y'all can kind of tell. I'm going to be getting the podcast together. And I might continue to use, because I don't like the Apple phone speakers. I'm going to upgrade and get some better speakers, though. So we're going to keep this going. This is going to be continuous refinement and process. I'm going to get some better speakers. These Bluetooth things sound pretty good. So I'll be using them. But eventually I'm going to look at some other microphones. That way I ain't got to be sitting up here looking like an astronaut, with these JLab Bluetooth headsets. And if enough people start checking them out, JLab may have to do some, they may have to write some checks to Being Black and IT LLC, for me doing a promotion. So, and we could definitely talk about that. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So, y'all check out some of the new interviews, and I got some new playlists that I've been putting together. I got a documentary play. Oh, that might be my other channel. But I got some playlists that y'all can check out. And anybody who wants to get into IT, consider going to beingblackandit.com and check it out. I'll see y'all later.